My fellow Americans, last night, when I spoke with you about the fall of Rome, I knew at that moment that troops of the United States and our allies were crossing the Channel in another and greater operation. It has come to pass with success thus far. Their road will be long and hard, for the enemy is strong. He may hurl back our forces. Success may not come with rushing speed, but we shall return again and again.
It's really remarkable. Two twin brothers from Nebraska. They both wanted to serve in the war. They insisted that they remain together. Their parents supported that decision. They enlisted in the Navy. They became Navy radiomen, and they were serving on the same ship during the D-Day invasions. Unfortunately, given the nature of war, it's tragic, and both were lost. Both were killed. They were serving aboard an LST, a landing ship tank. It struck a mine, and one of the twins was never unknowingly recovered. One twin, Ludwig Pieper, he was recovered, and then after the war, his family made a decision to have him buried here in Normandy American Cemetery.
In family gatherings, Louis and Henry were not brought up in front of the children for reasons that are unclear. They may have talked about it amongst the adults, but the kids, they never brought that into us for some reason. And it could be because it was an open wound, but then they all talked about me being named after him.
Fast forward to 2015, a remarkable set of coincidences. A high school student is doing a research project at the same time that the Defense POW MIA accounting agency is looking into all of the unknowns that are buried in ABMC cemeteries across the globe.
They were the first twins to ever graduate from the school.
We just happened to notice that these two were right together in the line and had the same last name, and that they had the same birthday. So we knew that they must be twins, but we didn't really know anything else about them. So we did some more research. We were just looking for information on them. So we requested, their service records.
And they noticed that Julius Pieper was lost on this LST. And they noticed that there was an Ardennes buried in American Cemetery that was a set of remains recovered from the ship in 1961 that came off the same LST. So they made a correlation.
So us looking for their files, I think, just kind of gave that a jump start, that it was a possibility that one of them was the Pieper brothers.
DPAA was able to do a lot more research. They exhumed the remains from Ardennes American Cemetery in Belgium in 2016. And in 2017, they were able to make an identification and fully account for Julius Pieper. In talking with the family, they felt that if he was buried here in Normandy, they would always be closer than if they brought him back to Nebraska.
I am proud because she brought history to me that I didn't know and brought me into this memorial celebration of Louis and Henry, and brought Louis and Henry into my life more in the last 3 years than I have in my prior life. Now, I asked my mom, how did my uncles die? And she told me they were on an ammunition boat in a river in France, and it blew up and hit a mine when it hit a mine. So it's wrong in some aspects. They weren't on a river. She didn't tell me it was a few days after D-Day. It sounded like years or many months after D-Day. She didn't bring that up. Didn't say it was on Utah Beach, and that it was a landing craft tank ship that had just made delivery of tanks and ammunition to Utah Beach and had turned around and was returning empty. And it was returning empty back to England to make another run, and it hit a mine as it was leaving, as it was trying to negotiate around arriving ships. So the ships would come in and then they'd go around the outside to leave. And it was going outside the clear channel, and that's when it hit the mine.
My mom was the youngest, and she just passed away in May at age 88. She would have been 89 years old on the 18th. As I understand it, they were close, and the twins themselves were very close, and they were best friends. So they kind of went off and did their own things, but she said she remembered really happy times in the household with them, very fun-loving.
I have a very special connection with my grandmother because I was born on her birthday and I'm the eldest grandchild. And that now makes me the next of kin to Louis and Henry, my uncles, since their sister Mary Ann passed away last month. So with her passing, the torch has been passed to me. So when I receive the flags, I feel like I'll be receiving them for Grandma on her behalf because she was a 2 Gold Star mother, and there's always a hole in her heart for her sons. And so I'll be receiving the flags on her behalf. And having been born on her birthday, it really increases that impact for me.
We didn't really know that our research was going to have this effect, so it was kind of a surprise, but definitely a very happy one.
So I'm not really much of a World War II buff or anything like that, but coming here for this special event with the reunification of my uncles, that I'm having a real appreciation for what happened in those years, that the liberation of France was so important, and I've also learned how important their job as radiomen on their LST was. There was only 2 radiomen, and they were either on duty or off duty, and they would have to be alternate duties.
I'm sitting here thinking about 74 years ago, around this same time, what was going on and the battles they were fighting to fight the Germans to win this land back. It's awesome. It's just makes me appreciate being an American. We're on Omaha Beach, and now I see babies playing in the sand with their sand buckets and sand tools.
It was really special when they showed us where they had relocated the crosses for Louis and Henry. We got some sand from Omaha Beach and rubbed it into the face and the recessed letters and everything to make it more visible. And to know that that was sand from Omaha Beach was really special. It's a tradition here, I guess, using the Omaha sand. And I didn't realize that that was what they used.
You know, what makes this burial incredibly significant for us at the American Battle Monuments Commission is this is the first burial in one of our 14 World War II cemeteries since 2005. Another thing that makes this really significant is this is the first time that a U.S. naval casualty has been buried in our cemeteries, any of our 14 World War II cemeteries, since they all were dedicated in the 50s and early 60s. So that's across our 14 cemeteries.
It's very honoring and very humbling, and to be able to provide the service for the family and be part of, you know, making history.
I arrived here, I was pretty exhausted from flying all night and taking the trains across France.
Oh, that's the most amazing story. We were just having some drinks there at the hotel. Dominic just walked up and he heard English being spoken.
And I said to myself, I'm just going to go ask those people where to find some food because I'm starving.
And he said, well, what brings you here? And someone responded, for a funeral at the cemetery.
At that point I stopped and I looked at them and I said,
oh, are you with the Julius Pieper family? Yeah, and that would be Pieper.
And they said, how'd you know that? And I said,
I was the one that identified his body.
I get to have a very, very small part in this mission. And that was one of the craziest things, I think, one of the most rewarding things I think I've done.
DPAA has been making identifications of MIAs from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Last year they made more than 180. What you have here is what is termed at the cemetery the gardens of the missing, and at the majority of our cemeteries they're known as the walls of the missing. And basically the names of every American who at the end of World War II that was listed as missing in action, lost at sea, or buried at sea is represented on these walls. Their name is there. The idea is we don't forget anybody. Everyone is recorded in stone somehow, some way. And on a few names, you'll see the rosette, a bronze rosette. And what the bronze rosette signifies is that individual has been found. They're no longer missing, and that they now rest in a known grave. And if you look at the rosette itself, you'll notice that it looks like a compass rose, and that's exactly what it is. It was designed by the Army's Institute of Heraldry for us. The idea is that it shows that the United States doesn't give up. We continue to search out for our missing in action from previous conflicts.
I'm very excited for the family that they kind of just get to have, like closure now that this is all over and they're finally buried together.
I think the family coming here to witness the funeral, to be at the cemetery, they know that their uncles, that the twins are in a very good place, that they are someplace where, more than 1.5 million people are going to visit this cemetery each year. And a large number of those people will go specifically to those graves to learn more about their story.
Stood there in awe, and at the same time, I was happy they're together, but I also wanted to cry. Everything hit me at once.
One of the things we like to say, and I'm getting a little choked up thinking about it, is that the men and women out here, they continue to serve because they stand as a reminder of what the United States did 70 years ago to ensure that the world would stay free.